Yes, confirmed.
In fact,
Thank
you
you
are
very
visible
much.
as well.
That's exciting to hear, Isaac. Thank you very much. Good evening once again. This evening, we are going to have a discussion about building teams. There's a saying that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with people. Very recently in my office, we had a new challenge to undertake, and it involved the use of a new software. I spent the whole night trying to figure out the whole software just because I wanted us to get ahead of our competition and launch the product to market. It would surprise you to know that the next morning I couldn't figure it out. And then I just reached out to somebody in my team and he showed me just one click. Just one click. I spent several hours, more than 5 hours, trying to figure it out. And I just needed to click one button and then the rest would follow. If I knew, I would have had a very strong team. And so I think I need this training more than everybody else on this call, how to build a team and how to grow it. Now, with this introduction, this meeting is going to flow in this way. Our resource person is going to spend 40 very, very quality minutes teaching us how to build a team. I would want you to do something. Write down any and every question you may have. And after the end of his session, I would come on and moderate a session where we ask questions and get all our questions answered. On that note, please permit me to introduce our resource person for this evening's meeting. All right. Michael Adote is life coach. He's the founder of Poimen, an organization committed to instilling a sense of mission in people so that they build what is broken and lay foundations for present and future generations. Michael has provided institutional training for organizations like Nestle, Central and Western Africa, Comfort, International Central Gospel Church, ICJC, ABSA, Ready to Work, Octane DC, etc. He recently launched the Living on Purpose on Udemy, an online and learning and teaching platform to help people from all walks of life match their purpose to their potential. He serves as a mentor on the Central Leadership Program. This program identifies and groups emerging Christian leaders and positions them as change agents in Africa. Michael is a certified life coach, certified belief clearing practitioner, and a distinguished Toastmaster DTM with proficiencies in dynamic leadership and effective coaching. You can find him on LinkedIn at Michael Adote and on Udemy with his course Living on Purpose by Michael Adote. And with that said, please help me with a round of applause to welcome our facilitator for this program, teaching us how to build a team, DTM Michael Adote.
Thank you very much, Carl.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Good evening to everyone joining us this evening. I hope you can hear me and you can also see me.
Yes, very clearly.
All right. Thank you once again. As Carl rightly said, I'll be speaking to you on how to build a team, and it's my hope that we can really have an interaction. I will be asking questions. I don't think I want to wait till the end of the session to receive questions from you. So I will start by asking questions during the session so that we can have a conversation together while I walk you through some of the thoughts that I have put down. I will briefly share my screen and then we will swing in. Please confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. So as I said, I'm speaking on how to build a team, and I want to start by making a few comments for us to really understand what we are stepping into. And these thoughts will guide the conversation, So the first thing I want everyone to know is that you are gifted. And by gifted, it means that you have genius in a particular area There are talents, there are abilities that are innate. You were born with them. And whether or not you have discovered it, you are fully applying it, you are gifted. And it's important for us to know that because of what I will be saying soon. So everybody is gifted. That's the first point. The second point is everyone is competent in one thing or another, or in multiple number of things. And competence here refers to things that we've learned by virtue of our training, formal training. Maybe you went to the university, you studied to become a marketing executive, or like Carl, you specialize in oil and gas. And so by virtue of your experience, your training, your skill set, you are competent in one thing or another. So if you came into Toastmasters and you wanted to lead in Toastmasters, chances are you will leverage off the competencies that you've built over time and apply it in a Toastmasters setting, and hopefully you get some good results. Although Toastmasters will train you in the process, but everybody has a competence. Whether, again, we know it is another thing, but it's important to note that once you have worked or you have built experience or you have trained yourself in something, there are certain skills that you have that can serve you. So that's the second point. The third and final point on this is everyone has frustrations. Okay, everyone has frustrations. Frustrations refers to things that easily drain us of energy, things that we can't do too well, or things that we simply don't like to do. We dread it. Okay, so if you are like me and you have frustrations, both hands are raised up, and I'm sure everybody can relate to it. There are things either in your work schedule or there are particular days of the week that because of a certain activity you have to do, you just don't want to attempt it. So these three things are important because it ties into what we are speaking about. The fact that I'm gifted, the fact that I have competencies, yet despite my gifts and my competencies, I have frustrations, indicates a very important thing, that everybody needs somebody. We need each other. You know, even on this call, it takes a team to pull this call. Imagine I was the same person preparing the agenda. I was the same person calling everybody to join this call. I was the same person presenting. I was the same person who planned this whole meeting. I don't think we'll be here because I don't know how I'm going to call 20 people to get on a call in an instant. So we need each other. Nobody is an island. Nobody can work and do things all by themselves. So that's one important thing that we need to note based on what I shared earlier. And it leads to the second point. Well-functioning teams do not occur naturally. So the fact that we need each other doesn't mean that if we came together, things would automatically work or would automatically hit it off and everything will be smooth. It's not going to happen. It will require us being very intentional, pulling resources together, managing our time, managing our expectations, managing our strengths, our weaknesses, combining it to a positive outcome. And so every time we see teams working, it's never by chance. And one of the things that fascinates me is when I see people who do like a formation dance, or you see the Asian armies doing a military parade and how everything is well synchronized. Everything moves to a rhythm. Their coordination, their movements, their timing, everything is just spot on. And it's nice to behold. One of the questions I ask myself whenever I see those things is, I can imagine the kind of work and the pressure it took to put out such a display. And I think it's the same principle that applies everywhere we see people working together. Even in Toastmasters, we belong to unique clubs that belong to unique areas. We have people from different divisions here, and District 94 obviously is the umbrella that brings all of us together. But if there was no coordination, if there were no clubs, there were no areas, there were no divisions, and there was no districts, can you imagine what would happen to every Toastmaster? We'll all just be wandering without any clue how to make the most of the Toastmasters experience. So how to build a team is really, really important. And it's centered a lot on these two thoughts that we need each other, but if we are going to work together, we have to be intentional about it. And so that leads us right into the heart of our conversation. So I will first talk about what a team is, and then we can start asking ourselves some questions. So first of all, a team is two things, predominantly a group of people, but it's not just a group of people because groups of people are everywhere. If I walk into the marketplace, or I went into a supermarket, or I attended a conference, there are groups of people, but it doesn't automatically mean we are teams. What qualifies people to call themselves a team is, number one, they are working together. So there's something that unites them. There's a certain, there are common goals that draw them together. And so based on that, we can call them a team because one, they work together. Two, they have common goals, common interests. That's a very, very important thing because many times you find people calling themselves teams, but when you observe them, they are just people who are lumped together in one place or gathered together on a call. There is no working together and there are no common goals that unite them. On this call, we can call ourselves a team because one, we work together to become better communicators and leaders, and we have common goals. They are generally goals that unite us. If you don't have any goal at all, we can all talk about personal development. We all want to be better versions of ourselves. So that, in a sense, makes us a team. But what even takes it further is there's a shared responsibility. So in teams, not only are people working together, not only are people having common goals, but people have unique roles that they play. So it's like a conveyor belt in a factory where maybe it's a Coca-Cola factory where somebody starts with a PET bottle, the bottle is empty, the bottle is moving on a conveyor belt, it gets to a place, the bottle is filled, then it moves to another station. Somebody's job is to place the cork on top of the bottle and make sure it's sealed. Then it moves to another station. Somebody's job is to make sure that the bottle has been labeled. Then it moves to another place. Somebody's job is to make sure the bottle is clean. Then it moves to another place. Somebody's job is to make sure that the bottle is being packed into a carton. And by the time we get to the end, somebody's job is to make sure that the carton is ready and set to be moved out of the factory. All those people are playing a role. So if you took one person out of the system, there'll be disruption. And that's one of the things that really defines what the team is. People have roles, and the roles are interdependent on each other. So just as I used the conveyor belt analogy, me playing my role is dependent on what the person before me did, and whoever follows after me is also relying on me to do something for something to happen. And even in a Toastmasters setting, when you look at the club officers, the 7 officers, you see that they each have distinct roles, but the roles are complementary. They work to serve each other, ultimately to achieve common goals that will benefit the club as a whole. So that's something unique about teams. And now we just want to touch a bit on the benefits of teams before we start talking. Okay, so with the benefits, it goes both to the team members and also to the leader of the team, right? One of the unique things about teams is that there's a blend of knowledge and skills. So somebody may be gifted in something, as we said, somebody is also competent in something, and I may not be good at that particular thing, but just because we are working together, I can leverage off their talent, and I can also leverage off their skill set, and I can do something that's on my own I wouldn't be able to do. And so we can achieve bigger goals together easily. Like Carl was saying, he was struggling with something. He spoke to somebody about it. The person helped him. Imagine Carl had to figure it out all by himself. Maybe he would get it, but it may be too late. and the learning curve may be too long, and he may miss out on some opportunities or deadlines. And so teams offer great benefits where with a phone call, walking to somebody's desk, sharing an idea with them, you have access to knowledge and skills that can help you do great things. And also, it brings about creativity that leads to greater productivity. So because we are all blending our gifts, our talents, our experience, we can do a lot in a shorter time. And that's the thing in productivity. We are efficient and we are effective at the same time. So we are working to our advantage. We are leveraging off each other so we don't waste too much time making decisions. And then also we can achieve results in record time, or we can achieve results that ordinarily would take someone a longer period of time to do on their own, but we can do it in a shorter time when we work together as a team. So those are two key benefits of teams. There are more, but I just wanted to keep it short so we can talk more. And the benefit to the leader is time to devote to leadership issues and the organization's mission. And that's the pain of every leader. And if you've led a team, maybe a team in your office, you've led an organization, you've led a Toastmasters club, even as something as fundamental as running a home, one of the things nobody in a position of a leader wants to deal with is, or are things that will draw them from focusing on the strategic things. As leaders, we want to be able to make time to do the things that are truly expected of us and drive vision and make sure that things that need to be done are being done. Make sure that we are looking ahead, anticipating changes and being able to respond to them. Make sure that the big items are being taken care of. But if we had to do that and juggle every little thing that is clamoring for our attention, it becomes difficult. And I shared something on LinkedIn last week that research was done in 2007 that said every 8 minutes, a manager in the office is interrupted. In other words, you're trying to keep your mind on something, and every 8 minutes, somebody's going to knock on your door. And if it's not an office that uses the door policy where it's a flat system, people can just walk up to you at any time. You can imagine what happens when every piece of information, every piece of approval has to go through one person. It can get very overwhelming and it's not very productive. And so to leaders, having a well-functioning team frees you to really play your part and then spend less and less time doing day-to-day supervision and activities, which is ultimately very beneficial to every leader. So now I'm going to ask some questions. How do we build a team in your opinion? How do you build a team? I just want to open the floor for any thoughts. How would you build your team? Let me see if I can call a few people on my own, if nobody's going to speak. So, okay, we have 38 people on the call. So let me see. I see Khadija Zakari. Oh, I see a hand. Okay, who's raised their hand? Okay, I see Khadija and I see Barry. So Khadija, please tell me, how do you build a team?
Okay.
Or how do you go about building a team?
Okay, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, how do you go about building a team? I think it all depends on the goal you want to achieve. Now, if you have this, we have pointed out your goal, the goal you want to achieve. Now, the people that are working around you, you identify their strengths and what they can bring to the table, and then you will place them according to how you want what you want to achieve. Who will bring about that achievement, and then you place them accordingly, and then you work together to achieve that objective.
Okay, thank you very much, Khadija. Very, very, very good points made. Barry.
Yes, thank you so much. Just to add to what Khadija just mentioned, I also believe that you need to start by defining the objectives or the
Okay.
roles for each of the team members. We need to know where we are going. And based on that, now I bring in Khadija's contribution to recruit the team members, find out who can do what are the
Oh,
respective talents and strengths that we can bring together. Then we can now communicate amongst ourselves and then provide the right environment for each person to contribute. Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much for your thoughts. One more. Who else? How would you build a team? I want you to tell me how you would do it. I'm trying hard not to call people, but
Okay,
if
Lydia Michael, we have another hand up.
okay,
We have your hack, Balarabe.
okay. Please, you have the floor.
Okay, hello.
Yes, hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So building a team, I will say it comes in two, I will say from two axes. At times we have the luxury of starting a new team.
Yes.
So like the new president now coming on board, he has that luxury of building his own team.
Yeah.
How he wants us to be, the kind of people he wants to be on that team. And the number one, he has his own agenda. He said the new hop. So the first thing now, he has his own goal before he has his own team members. So that's a luxury that not all team leaders will be. Okay, I'm talking of our new president in Nigeria, from Nigeria.
Okay.
Okay, in Nigeria, we have a new president in Nigeria. So a person like that now, he has the luxury of first looking at his own goal, then looking at the kind of people that may be aligned with such kind of goal or dream that he has. So that one is easy. Okay. What about where you find yourself? You are the new person and you are the team leader. How do you go about building that team? And these are people that they are used to doing things in a different way. Now you are coming with a new objective. How do you build your team around that? The first thing always already is to look at your goal that you have to achieve. Then look at your current team members. What are their capabilities? And is there any missing knowledge or missing skill that they need in order to be able to achieve that goal? Do they even understand the goal that should be achieved? Are they motivated? If they are not, now you have the daunting task of understanding your team members. Your goal, you already understand it. Now you have to understand your team members. What are their strengths, their weaknesses, and what can you do to build those strengths and weaknesses to be able to achieve that one goal? Then what can you do to motivate them so that all of them can take ownership of that goal? Then you will start having a team. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for the contributions you've made so far. And I really like what you said about the two scenarios, one having to do with having the luxury to choose, and then one where you are the one coming in. There's an existing team and you have to work with them. Or sometimes the team is even chosen for you. You don't have a say. And based on that, let me just ask this question. How many of us on this call have ever participated in a Toastmasters Club success plan? If you have, just raise your hand. I'm not going to call you, but I just want to know so that it informs what I say. How many of us have actively been involved in a club success plan? If you've ever done it before, just raise your hand. Let's see. I see 1, 2, 3. Anyone else? 4, 5. As many of us have. Just raise your hand. We'll look at it in a minute. And one thing you notice, even in Toastmasters, when you're elected president, hardly will you have the luxury of determining who your VP is and who your vice president, membership, all the roles. it's more or less decided by the club, and you have to learn how to work with people. So we don't always have the luxury of selecting members or choosing who is going to lead our team or who is going to do what. We don't always have that luxury, but we have the opportunity to get to know people, appreciate where their strengths lie, and see ways that we can leverage on those strengths to do a lot more. So let me just do a quick check. Oh, I see just 3 hands. All right, that's okay. But I was going to, I asked that question because one thing that Toastmasters has done, which I have shared before, that I think we are not mindful of, is the understanding your leadership style and your communication style resource. Now, these 2 resources are very, very powerful because it's an immediate tool that leaders can use to assess team members. And just by assessing team members and knowing where their leadership style is, how their leadership style plays out in the workplace or in the group setting, and also appreciate how they communicate. The beauty about the communication and leadership style that Toastmasters has is that it shows you the strength of every leadership and communication style, but it also tells you what the challenges or some of the disadvantages are. But one thing they do that I like is they tell you that no leadership style is perfect, no communication style is perfect. What matters is how you respond to the situations that are before you. And so that's a resource that I encourage everybody here. You can take advantage of it and use it to know people, especially if you find yourself in a setting where you haven't worked long enough and you want to get to know each other. It's something that can easily break the ice, spark conversations, and then you begin to see how it plays out in your day-to-day. But that aside, I want us to go back to the slides and then talk about some of the things. And before I do that, what I want to also add is there's no perfect way to build a team. It's purely situational. However, there are always principles that can serve as a guide, and there are frameworks that we can use. But in every setting, there'll always be a nuance. There'll always be something that we can't apply in a larger setting. And so we have to be mindful of some of these differences and nuances and be able to do the right thing as we deal with things situation by situation. So based on that, I want to go back to the slides and just touch on a few of the things that we can do if we want to build a team. So there are actually 7 things, but we'll go through them one by one. The most, one of the things that we can't ignore, which almost all of you touched on, is selecting people and listing people onto a team, whether you came to meet them or not, or they came to meet you, or you have the luxury of choosing them, you still have to make some kind of selection because there's a goal or there's an end in mind that you have. And because of that, it's important to clarify the kind of qualities that you are looking for. If we have especially a task at hand that is heavily time-bound, and it's a deadline, we can't afford to miss it, we can't afford to pass up the opportunity. What are some of the qualities you'll be looking for in a team member? Who can share? You have a deadline to meet in, let's say, 1 week. It's a major client or a major opportunity that as a team you are really, really pushing for. And you are trying to get people around who can help you reach that goal. What are some of the qualities that you'll be looking for? You can just unmute and share your thoughts. Or you can raise your hands and I'll call you.
We have a hand down. Every choice.
Someone that is focused and result-oriented that could meet tight deadlines.
Okay, someone who is focused and can meet deadlines.
Result oriented, yeah.
Result oriented, yes. Focus, result oriented can meet deadlines. So immediately you know what you are looking for, right? And that's very, very important. Anyone else?
We have Laraba.
Okay, Laraba, please share your thoughts.
In a team, I want to select people that are emotionally intelligent. Now, humans are emotional beings, and emotions sometimes can get high, it can be all over the place. You need someone that is going to first be conscious of his own emotion, know how to manage it, to be able to identify changes in his team members' emotions so that he can act accordingly. That to me is an important thing to have in a team.
Very, very, very good point, Laraba. Very, very happy that you brought this up, because if you are working with tight deadlines and you don't have an emotionally intelligent person in the mix, you can imagine what will happen when things are not going as planned, or things are delaying when they shouldn't delay. People can lose their tempers. Things can get very heated, like you said. So very, very important point over there. Anyone else?
ATM, we have some messages in the chat box.
Okay.
So
If you can help me,
Bashir says trustworthiness. Sure. Bashir says trustworthiness.
Okay.
Mavis Dennison says a self-motivator. And Ziok says adaptability.
Adaptability, yes.
All right. Initially, I think I saw Sarah McQueen's hand up. Sarah, you may share your response as well.
No, I wanted to share 3 attributes that I'll be looking out for. Someone who is competent, someone who is accurate, someone who works with high speed. Yeah,
high speed.
These are the 3. Yeah.
Okay.
To meet my deadline, these are the 3 that I'll look out for.
Thank you very much for all the comments that you shared. And so that's really the most important thing. So although you don't see the goal over there, the goal is actually what informs who you enlist, or who you bring on board, or who you share your idea or the concept or whatever it is you're working on. So that's very, very important in selecting members. It should be informed by what is at stake, right? So that's something we all need to be mindful of. Second thing is reviewing the goals. Yes, we may be working at a deadline that is due in a week, but have we really sat down to review the goals? Do we really understand what we are working towards? Or maybe in the process of reading, we missed a very important detail. And it's something that can happen to everyone. We can be running in one direction only for someone to go back, pick the concept notes, and realize that what we're actually doing is not what we should be doing. So it's always important, beyond recruiting people, is to review the goals. And goals are very funny because goals operate on different levels. And even in Toastmasters and outside Toastmasters, the same thing applies. You realize that in Toastmasters, there are general goals. And Toastmasters will tell you, for example, they want a minimum of 6 members to complete a certain level for the club to earn some awards. That's a general goal. And sometimes you wonder, when Toastmasters International is way out there, what has that got to do with me here in Ghana, a member of Accra Toastmasters who just wants to improve my speech? It can be very far removed from you, right? Same thing in a goal. A goal can be so general, so broad, so sometimes vague that people in a team cannot connect with the goal. So in reviewing goals, there has to be a breakdown: the general goal, the team goals, and then specific goals that everyone has to complete or work towards. It's so important because if we deal with the individual goals, it fits into the team's goals, and the team's goals fits into the general goals. And so that's another thing that is very, very much worth considering if we want to build a team, because we don't want to build a team where we have people with all these qualities who are charged up, but they don't even know where they fit in the grand scheme of things. And so you find a team of talented people, but there's no direction. And they really don't know where to start and where to go and who to do what and who's not supposed to do this or that, which is why I said earlier that it's not enough to have people together. They must have a common goal. They must be working together, and they must see how their roles interplay.
We had a speech contestant, and then we had a speech contestant, and we had a table topics contestant. Now our contestant got disqualified because he overused his time. In the speech.
Are you asking a question?
Looking at the timer.
I think in speeches whereby still have
Eunice. Eunice. Your
yeah. I told him, we said all those things, and I think that's something that made
me kindly mute.
Hello,
asking a question.
Personally, when I see the yellow, I don't even want to transit into red, because you cannot start a point and not finish it. It won't help your delivery. So,
hi, you are unmuted. Michael, you may unmute.
The question will be two.
I think you are also co-hosts. Tia Michael. Tia Michael, you may. Okay, she's on. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So I actually thought she was asking a question at the point, so I wanted to be sure. So that's something that is worth considering. Always making sure that general goals, team goals, and individual goals are clarified, because if I've called you because I see certain qualities in you, I must be able to give you a goal that gives you an opportunity to deploy those gifts or those abilities that you have. Other than that, you can't serve me, I can't serve you, or we can't work together to achieve anything meaningful, right? And that leads to the third point, setting parameters, working rules and procedures. How are we going to communicate? How will decisions be made? How will problems be solved? These are very, very critical things that must be clarified when we are building a team, because people need to know how things should be done. Sometimes it can be a new team that is being created, and some of these things take time because things are now being set in stone. But in Toastmasters, for example, you have a whole framework in the club success plan that can help you lay out all the things that you want to do, how you want to communicate, how you want to make decisions. These days, people can make decisions on their WhatsApp page that is purely for executive members of the club, where a decision is made and then it is implemented in the club. So all these things are things that need to be discussed. If it's in an office setting, what are the communication channels? What are the decision-making protocols that you have in place? How will problems be solved? And this is very easy once you've clarified everybody's goals, and everybody's goals fits into the team's goal, and the team's goal fits into the general direction that we are headed into. So like I said, there's really no perfect way, but these are all guides and frameworks that you can look at depending on where you find yourself, apply them, and try to build something from there. And this leads to the fourth point, which is developing a plan. It's not enough for us to say these are our goals, this is how we are going to communicate, make decisions, and solve problems. And so we are going to leave it at that. No, we are going to actually put down action steps or plans that will help us meet those goals. And that's one of the most important things that no leader can run away from in building teams. We must build a team that will take decisive steps, take decisive actions, and achieve results. And even if we don't achieve those results, we have a way of tracking back, seeing where there were lapses, and trying to amend them. There will also be surprises along the way. in the midst of those surprises, we have to find a way to work around them and make sure that we are achieving the goals that we've set out to achieve. So developing a plan is so important, and it has to be a plan that works. And this is where things like SMART goals come in. The plan has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be attainable, it has to be realistic, it has to be time bound. So we are not going to go into SMART goals, but it has to be a plan that works, you know. And even if there are roadblocks, the plan should be flexible enough to adapt to the changes. For example, I remember one thing that really hit me when I was a division director. COVID hit in the midst of my tenure. We woke up one day on the 16th of March in Ghana, and the president declared a lockdown. And all of a sudden, overnight, we, a community who were very, very used to seeing each other, shaking hands and exchanging stages with people, using our gavels, all of a sudden we had to migrate everything virtually. But in the midst of all of that, we still had to work out our plan. And one of the major plans then was, how do we organize a speech contest? How do we even compete with a district? And so we had to think through all of these things and work through them, because at that time it was very new. We didn't know what to expect. We saw the news items on how deadly the virus was. So even coming into contact with one person leaves you wondering if you've caught the virus, if you are safe. So in the midst of all of that, our plan was tested. But because we were working together and we were clear on some of the things we were doing, we could always go back, retrace our steps, and find a way to make things work, right? And that leads to another point in assigning roles. One of the hallmarks of good teams is that we know who is responsible for what. And so when it's either happening or not happening, we know how to follow up. And we see how our role impacts the other person, which is why I use the conveyor belt analogy, where if you went to a factory, you see a chain, you see people stationed at the chain, and you see each of them playing distinct roles. And sometimes some of the roles may look very mundane or monotonous. It may not be important, but if you took that person out, it could disrupt the entire chain. And that's how teams work. Sometimes what we are doing may not seem like much, but because it feeds into what the other person is doing, it can disrupt the flow of a team. And one of the things that I realized in my early days as a Toastmaster was 2 months as a Toastmaster, I was made a sergeant at arms. And so we had one person who was very experienced and 6 other officers who were babies in Toastmasters, literally. Just 1 month into a Toastmasters club, we were made club officers. And so we were all learning. And that was very, very challenging for us because we had to constantly look to the experienced Toastmaster to tell us what to do at every point in time. But we realized if we're going to keep things that way, the club will not function well. So we all committed to start learning and immersing ourselves in the club, the leadership handbook, reading about our roles, applying ourselves. And within 3 to 6 months, we got a hang of things and we're able to play our roles better and relieve the then president of the club of having to teach us every single thing. But that wasn't easy. And so having a team where one person is doing more than they should, or information is not flowing, or we are not playing our functions, is definitely going to impact the outcomes we have. We may even be achieving our goals, but underneath that, there will be bitterness. People start feeling like they deserve more than the others, or people start feeling that others are not pulling their weight, and then all that can degenerate into something that may not be beneficial to the team. So it's really, really important that roles are clearly defined. People know what they're responsible for, and they appreciate how everything fits into the other, into how their roles fit into other people's roles and how other people's roles also fit into theirs. And there has to be a way of measuring. Let me just share my screen again, sorry. Yes, sorry. So point number 6 is there should be measurements and how our performance is being monitored. So we need to be able to know who's performing, who's not doing too well. And if they are not doing too well, what's the cause? It's not always the case of the person not pulling their weight. Sometimes it could just be they are inundated with so many things and they need support. Sometimes it could also be that communication lines are not clear enough. And so people need clarity. But once we are evaluating and measuring our progress, we can spot weak links, we can spot things that need our attention, and we can improve them or we can address them. When there's conflict, we can talk through things and work out a solution, which is something that is very common. As humans, if there's no conflict, then it means we are not really applying ourselves, because once people are together, people are not the same, people have different persuasions, people have different skill sets and gifts, people have different perspectives, there's bound to be conflict. But once it's an environment where we are looking out for each other, we are measuring our performances, not to put each other down, but to improve and up our game, then measuring standards or measuring performance doesn't become a place to prove a point, but it's a place to refine people and improve them so that ultimately the team benefits from all that is happening. And so it's important to clarify some of these things so that performances are not arbitrary, or how somebody is faring is not based on what someone thinks, but it's based on data, it's based on information, it's based on results, it's based on their KPIs, it's based on things that they can be held accountable to. So it's important to clarify that. And also the timelines, how often are standards or performance going to be measured? Is it quarterly? Is it twice a year? Is it monthly? It's all up to the leader and the team and the culture that you find yourself in to clarify some of these things. And the last and most important is building team trust. No matter how gifted a team is, no matter how resourced they are, if there's no trust, that team can't work together. There'll be too much sabotage. There'll be too much selfishness. There'll be too much tension, and nothing will work. Even the most ordinary things will be very difficult to facilitate in such settings. And so it's important for things like respect to be very, very, very sacred in every team setting, respecting people purely because, first of all, they are human. And that's the foundation. Everybody deserves respect fundamentally because they are human. Beyond being human, they have their opinions, they have their preferences, they have their values, they have their convictions, and all of these things have to be factored into building a team. We can't just treat everyone equally. Equity is very important. And so things like respect must be really, really high up as far as building team trust is concerned. And communication, being able to talk and opening doors for people to have conversation. When there's conflict, ensuring that there's dialogue to resolve the conflict as much as possible. And integrity, making sure that what we say we are is who we are. what we say we'll do is what we'll do. And that cannot be overemphasized enough. Integrity is very important, and it actually means soundness or wholeness. And so if the team is not sound and the team is not whole, integrity has been compromised. And so one of the duties of every leader and every team member for that matter, striving to build a team that will thrive, is to ensure that there's soundness and there's wholeness. And how do we do that? It's by respecting, communicating, and keeping our word, making sure we strive as much as possible to do what we set out to do or what we've committed to do. And once there's trust, it's very easy to look out for each other and cover each other even when there are shortfalls. And last but not the least is excellence. Excellence is something that is desired everywhere, but unfortunately it's not common everywhere. So everybody knows that excellence is a must. Excellence is demanded of us as Toastmasters. Excellence is demanded of us in the workplace. Excellence is demanded of us in the home. Society demands it of us, yet excellence is very much in short supply because it's something that must intentionally be cultivated. It's never something that is random, which is why even building a team is not a random effort. That's why I said earlier in the presentation that every time you see a team working, always know that it is not a natural occurrence. Force, discipline, and effort has been applied to ensure that the team is what it is. So I'm going to pause and ask a few questions, right? Let me just stop sharing my screen. So my question really at this point is, if we are supposed to be careful in selecting our team, we are supposed to be mindful of the qualities we are looking for, we have to have a goal in mind. My question is that all it takes to make a team work? Thank you, Ajwa. Is that all it takes to make a team work? I think we can segue into the question and answer time then, since I hear my time is up. So I'll ask this question, and once we get answers, I'll hand over to my moderator, and then we can ask the questions that we have, and then I can share my concluding thoughts in the process. So my question is, if I'm a leader, I'm building a team, and I want to really, I'm clear of what my goals are, and I want to handpick the right people. I've done that. I have taken them through everything we need to do. We followed all the due processes. Is that all it takes? Or is there more I should be doing? If there is, what should I be doing? The floor is open for anyone to share their thoughts.
Right. So we have Khadija, whose hand is up.
Okay, Khadija, you have the floor.
Okay. Good evening once again.
Good evening, Khadija.
So I think after you have identified your goals and you have picked your teammates, the next thing and every team member has been given his or her responsibility. I think the next thing for you as the team leader will be to a follow-up supervision to ensure that things are being done as they should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Khadija. So I'm going to add what Khadija said. We've carefully chosen the team. We've gone through the goals. We've set all the responsibilities in place, and we are supervising to make sure that things are working. In the midst of all of that, is there something else we should be doing? So thank you, Khadija, for that. But I want to still stretch is there something beyond what Khadija said we should be doing? Anybody to share something?
We have a number of hands up. I would like to call Bashir. Please unmute and share.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening once again.
Good evening, Bashir.
I think after following all these processes and these steps, maybe there are some of the team members that need some training, especially on the job training. So possibly some of the team members need to be trained on that aspect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bashir. That's exactly what I was looking for and driving at. So I'm really happy that it's come up, because in the midst of all of that, there will be gaps, there will be shortfalls, there will be things we'll discover about ourselves as leaders and even about our team members. And that's where training comes in. And training ranges on a number of things. There are problem-solving tools. It's how to handle effective meetings. For example, you're a company that goes out to sell your products and services actively to potential or prospective clients. Holding effective meetings or learning how to close, learning how to negotiate, learning how to sell and present your offer. All of these are skill sets you may realize on the job that some of your team members are lacking and require training. And so training has to be organized for them. It's not always going to be formal training where a resource person comes. Sometimes it's just about sharing information that is readily available, asking them to go and study it or apply themselves to it or take them through some practical sessions that can help them in doing that. So training is important because it will help bridge the gap where there are shortfalls. So in the midst of all of that, we can't ignore training. And I think that that's one of the things that Toastmasters also does. Every club officer has their leadership handbook, but it's not left there. There's the club officer training that is supposed to equip every club officer to effectively carry out their duties at the club level. And it happens twice a year. So if not for anything at all, every club officer will get 2 trainings, Toastmasters sponsored trainings in a year. But in addition to that, there may be things that are happening in a club that you may have to address without waiting for trainings to happen. Similar in a corporate situation, every company has its training policy. They may decide twice a year, once a year to do trainings where resource people come. But in the midst of that, when gaps are noticed, a leader can take responsibility and create a solution to that gap that has been realized through training or through providing a resource that will help people improve and ultimately do better in their roles. And that leads me to a very important thing, that as a leader, your role is transitioning. You are not always going to be just a leader positionally, but you realize that one point you are forming a team, another point you are supervising the team, making sure that things are going as planned. Another time you are a problem solver or you are facilitating a process. In the midst of all of that, you are coaching because you realize that somebody is probably struggling in something and you are offering expertise, you are offering training. Sometimes it can even be you, the leader, who is on the receiving end and somebody is also guiding you. Sometimes your role is also purely just monitoring, making sure that things are going as planned. Other times you are recognizing people for their performance. You are looking at who is doing well, who is really putting in effort, and you are celebrating, you are rewarding your team for a good job done. You are inspiring them to do even more. Sometimes you're also pointing out things that they are not doing too well, that they have to improve and work harder at. So all of these encompass the changing roles of a leader as far as addressing the team needs as they go along. So based on that, I'll just pause again. If there's any direct question from anyone, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, TTL Michael Adoti, for a very insightful and exciting session. The session is not over yet. And so I would want to guide those of us participating into you've already guided us there, but I want to formally guide us into the question and answer session. In this session, you've gone through what building a team essentially entails. You've made us aware that everybody is gifted, competent, and we all have frustrations, and the fact that we all need each other. Now, to be able to have a well-functioning team, the team is made up of a group of people who share responsibility. You've also you distinguish between what a team is and what the leader is, and what kind of requirements there are in building a team, in selecting a team, or working with a team that has already built for us. You've used a very nice analogy that is the conveyor belt analogy, to be able to explain why every member of the team is important and how to go about selecting members, reviewing the goals, working with the responsibilities of the team, and developing a plan and building trust and making sure that we train and retrain our team members to make sure they're able and up to task. I think I'll begin with the questions and ask you that, but before I ask my question, I would want to say those of us who cannot contribute with our questions immediately, you may also put them in the chat box and I will read them. We have a couple of very nice comments for you, DTM, for your training, and let me quickly go through a couple of them. Hawk says, thank you, excellent, thank you for the impactful nuggets. We have Maureen saying thank you, Dr. Loretta saying thank you, and Dr. Loretta saying great presentation. Now to my question, I would want to ask that if I did not select my team, and yet I have a member of a team who I have tried to help, and they seem not to be able to pull weight, what is the next step I should take? On that note, I would also ask that if you have a question, just put up your hand and I'll call you to answer. Over to you, DTM.
Well, sometimes it can be tricky where everything has been done to support a particular person and they are either not pulling their weight or they are doing the best they can, but it's just not working. I think it's important to have a conversation, and really get to the heart of what the challenge is. If it's something that has to do with the work stream, then everything that needs to be done to streamline the work stream so that this individual can get all the opportunity they deserve to achieve their goals, then let's explore that. But if all of that has been done and there's really no way forward, then the conversation may have to be escalated beyond the line manager to whoever sits above, who can probably look at things from a detached point of view. One of the things that happens is sometimes when we are very close to a situation, we may be missing something that is very important that we are too close to see. So having somebody who is a little detached, who can come in and provide objective feedback helps a lot. And I believe that should be the next step. Beyond that step, if there's really no effort, when maybe a performance improvement has been put in place to help the person, to give them all the supports that they need, then it may be important to have a conversation to part ways. It's the last resort, but if it has to be done, it has to be done. And sometimes too, it could be that historically the person was a star performer. And so if there's a sudden dip in their performance, what could have caused it? Or if they are typically people who are always borderline and they've slipped below the borderline, then immediately you know that either something was helping them and that support is no longer there. But sometimes, for example, let me use sales. There are salespeople who may be closing 2 or 3 transactions a month, but you may think they are doing well, and it's because they are getting sales leads, for example. Now, what happens when in a month marketing doesn't generate sales leads for them to go out, sell, and then close a lead? What is going to happen is that you immediately realize that the person is exposed. And they're exposed because in the process of the sales leads that are coming in, they are not nurturing a network that they can fall back on, that can give them referrals to continue selling the company's products. Now, if I'm a company, I immediately be concerned because does it mean that all you are here for is for me to pass you leads for you to close a deal? But every company would want somebody who is building a network that they can leverage off, that can bring referrals, that can help them grow their business. And so in assessing a situation like this, you'd immediately be able to see where the shortfall is and provide direct support. But sometimes it could just be that there's a culture misfit, the person doesn't align with the values, the standards, and the way things are done in the organization, and they may have to move on. So there's usually no set way, but I think the best thing you can do is to escalate for support, and then you can take a decision with leadership.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michael. DTM Michael. We have 2 questions in the chat box. We don't have much time, and so I'll go through both of them, and then you can quickly address them. The first question is from Bashir, and he says, how do you inspire a team in a situation where you are the only one committed to a cause? And the next question is from Zio Hack, which says, how do you handle misunderstandings or conflicts in a team? So the first question is about you being the only one committed to the cause. The second is about misunderstanding or conflicts. Over to you, Lydia.
Okay, the first question has to do with how do you inspire a team when it seems like you're the only one who is fired up or inspired? That's a very difficult thing, and I don't wish that on anybody, but sometimes it happens. You find yourself in that situation. What I would say is find a story or a metaphor that can send a message you're trying to send. Sometimes you don't have to do the talking. You just need to find the right story, the right experience that you share. What happens with metaphors or stories that fit your context is that people have their logical way of reasoning. And so if I come to you and I tell you, hey, you know what, we have to work together and achieve this and get this job done. In the person's mind, you know what I'm going through. I mean, at the end of the day, if I achieve this, how is this going to benefit me? All these rational thoughts are playing out in their minds. And so no matter how fired up you are, they may not listen to you or they may not take you seriously. And that can be disheartening. But sometimes when all you do is share a story, share a metaphor that fits the situation the team finds itself in, all you have to do is let the story do the talking. Now, what happens is psychologically, metaphors will go beyond their limiting beliefs. It will go beyond their reservations, to go beyond their struggles. And so unknowingly, subconsciously, they are buying into what you are saying without you having to say it. And so that's one thing you can always do. So as leaders, free tip for everyone, one of the things you should devote your time on social media to, whenever you happen to be surfing the internet or YouTube, always look for stories that resonate with your work and save those stories, because you need them one of these days. And one of these days, that's all you need to inspire a team without saying much. And you'll find people just nodding and buying into something that you're saying. So that's a very good way that you can do that. The second question was, how do I handle conflict? Was that it, Carl?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, again, it's one of those questions where I can't give you a straight answer because conflicts may vary and the underlying cause of the conflict can sometimes be very nuanced. And so I can't say do this, do that. But what I will say is encourage dialogue. And in encouraging the dialogue, try to get to the heart of what the conflict is. And when you get to the heart of it, it's usually easier to resolve the issue. And when it becomes difficult for two parties, let there be a third party that is neutral and can objectively hold both parties accountable till the issue is resolved. So that's what I would say for now. But try to get to the heart of the issue so that it's easier to know which direction you should take.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much, DTM Michael Adoti, for that very insightful session. To the audience, I have two things to ask of you. The very first thing is, what are you going to do with the information you have received this evening? I want to see you typing what you are going to do from tomorrow in building your team, in growing your team. I am very sure that most of us either lead a team or exist in a team where we are not the positional leader, but we occupy some level of authority and leadership. So to practicalize what we've learned, both in Toastmasters and in our professional lives, just type down what it is that you have promised to do going forward in your team. Sharing stories. Bashir says he's going to share stories. That's very nice, Bashir. And then the next thing I would want us to do is to unmute and give our facilitator a round of applause for such a very, very insightful session. Please unmute and then give him a round of applause. Let's show our appreciation to him for taking time out to share all of this information with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, DTM. And as we continue to share our experiences, I urge you to go to the chat box and follow up on that. I would go into the next part of this evening session and introduce the next person to give us a toast, actually to toast to all that we've learned in this evening's meeting. All right. So we have one from Joa Odum, PQD for Division G, and she says she's going to unlearn some of her experience from team building and apply of some of DTM's nuggets. Thank you very much, Joa. On that note, I would want to hand over to Toastmaster Nana Abokotete, who is going to lead us through the toast session of this evening's meeting. Nana, over to you.
Hello and good evening. It's been a very great evening. And tell me, Carl, why are you laughing?
I'm excited. I am excited to see another Toastmaster on.
Oh, yes, Gavelia to start with. Yes. Okay, so shall we all show our videos? Maybe turn our videos on and grab a glass of something. Could be a glass of water, a glass of wine, a glass of juice, a bottle of water, whatever you have. Great. Carl, what do I see there? Is that green juice?
It's coded. It's coded.
All right, that's fine. So with our glasses and bottles of something, let me say again, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests, if there are any on the call. It's been an informative and very insightful session, and we can only thank our facilitator for graciously and succinctly sharing nuggets on team building with us. Now, with our glasses lifted, mine is lifted already, when we find ourselves on teams, may we be worthy team playing assets. And when we find ourselves in a capacity as team leads, may we be wise and intelligent enough to achieve the greater goal. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to you. Cheers to you.
Yes, Nana, thank you so much.
Okay. Tia Majwa, you finished drinking yours already? Okay, so have a good night, everybody. I'm handing over back to the moderator for the evening, or to the coordinator for the evening.
Yes, thank you. I've just received the slides from DTM Michael, so I will share with the coordinator for Afterwork, and then she can share to our various. I think this is slides that we will all need, so I'll share to Mavis, and then she can also share to the various PQDs of the divisions. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mavis.
Thank you very much, Ajua. Need I say anything again? Nothing. I think we've all had an eventful evening. Just a quick information. On the 26th of this month, we are having a joint service between the Francophone and the Anglophone. And I think that is when we are going to round off for the year. It has been an eventful one. So please tell a friend to tell a friend. We are going to have a joint service. Please, English division. Ajua, tell your people. Don't disappoint me, please. help me so that we can finish off this in a very grand style. All too soon, we've come to the end of a successful meeting. Thank you so much, Division D. You've been amazing. Thank you for everybody. Thank you for my team. Sorry. Team Afterwork, you've been awesome. I appreciate you all. Have a good evening. Please don't go yet. You should get to know people. We are coming to the end of our session or our tenure. Get to know people. Don't just go yet. Have a good evening. Nana, thank you so much. And the Gavilia, I need to see you guys very soon. Have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bye for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
But
Thank
why are you warning me? I'm warning you. Why are you warning me about
I'm tired. I'm very tired.
I'm here.
Oslo also has given us a lot of stuff to do. And from the start of the month, we've been doing 6 days shift, Monday to Saturday.
You will finish soon.
It's not been easy.
You will finish soon. You just have 3 more weeks.
Amen.
You've done well. You've done well.
Ajua.
Thank
you so much.
Congratulations.
I mean, she deserves a DPM badge, like after every week.
Double DTM. Double DTM.
DD Carl.
This work you've done.
Hey, no, please.
No, she's done well.
Thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without all your support and your help. I'm so grateful. I appreciate you. There are some people I have to actually call to appreciate.
What's the next thing you are doing after
Our superwoman Mavis.
Mavis, what's the next thing you are doing? What's on your plate?
Nana. I think you did. I need a breather, please.
Give
me that breather for now.
Oh, that's enjoy. Carl is your incoming director.
You are still streaming. Are you still streaming with this conversation?
I've paid my dues. Didi Carl knows I've paid my dues. So he will let me.
No.
He allow me.
He says he needs a big.
I don't know whether you are talking about another cow, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Mavis, Carl
then
says
it's not me. Mavis is making a mistake. It's not me.
Carl says he needs
because
a
you and I, Mavis, we've not had this conversation, so I don't know why you are saying what you are saying.
Thank you.
No. I'm actually not on your side, though. Mavis, I'm not on your side.
He's not on your side, though.
Please,
I'm on your side.
And I'm recommending you to him, so please, PQG, please.
Hi. Please. Please. I'm tired. I'm tired.
You do well.
Please. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. I couldn't have done it. The pep talks, Ajua. Hey.
So Mavis, the 26th, is it going to be in English and French or what? What's the format?
It's going to be English and French. We are still putting some things in place. I'll get in touch with you. We are still putting something. I think we have a meeting on either Thursday. I think we have a meeting on Thursday. I'll let you know what happens. We will hopefully we should have our first meeting.
Thank you. Awesome. Maybe do you know Kwame? Do you know Toastmaster Kwame by Chamford? Do you know him?
I know him.
He's on call. He hasn't said anything. Why is he quiet? Kwame.
I have no idea.
He has been speaking. He's not quiet. He's not being
quiet.
Because you are streaming an informal conversation.
Oh, haven't we?
Oh my God.
Oh no.
I thought we had.
Oh my God. Ooh.
Aja, please do that now. You have the host access.
I do?
Yes.
Okay, we are not. I don't think we are streaming anymore.
Aja, check.
You are live. You are live. I alerted this 10 minutes ago.
Really? Because
please go to more and then
no,
because you have the.
I'm not even sure it's recorded.
It did.
It did? Because my button starts recording. So I don't know what.
You are live.
Okay, it's been disabled now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Communications guy, are we off?
You should have said it earlier on. At least
I said it 10 minutes ago.
Oh no!
You were on Carl.
No. Maybe Carl needs a PQD for his division. Please put in your application.
Please, he's not there. Kwame is there. Kwame is a very good material, a great candidate.
100 years. 100 years.
Me. I'm come back to me.
I talk on investment.
Kwame is 100 years.
Car will tell you it's another car you are talking about.
Kwame will do it. Oh, Kwame is cool.
Charlie,
Ajua, my bro, Ajua, you know, you shouldn't even go. Ajua. Well, I mean, I don't remember the last time I gave a speech.
No, I know. It takes a toll. I know. I know it takes a toll. Anyway, ladies.
Okay.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm grateful. Anytime you come around, I mean, if so with your head, and I did. I'm so grateful.
Thank you for your kind words.
I don't really stress. I got the BTG.
Thank you for your kind words.
I don't stress.
Thank you for your kind words. Okay, Kwame.
Okay, bye.
Abayomi, who is not speaking. Bye.
Bye.
All right, have a good night. Bye.
End the meeting. Yeah, the host.
Boy.
Bye.